Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk all about the death matches in 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. I'm going to give you a full guide and breakdown for how to plan and beat the red demon here and the gray demon. So first off, what you need to know is how to trigger the deathmatch fights. There are basically two ways to get into a deathmatch. One, you have 6 fights that you can trigger daily from each of the 6 bosses from each of the 6 chapters. Or, conversely, if you have anyone added on your friends list, if you have anyone in your knighthood, or if you have anyone just around the same rank as you, you can get invitations. So you'll see invitations down here, battle invites for the deathmatch, and you can have them popping up at all hours of the day or night. There's really a lot of people playing, so there's really a lot of invites going out. Just a quick guide if you want to shut off those invites because they can get annoying. If you go over into game settings, and then at the top you go to notifications, you can set the deathmatch invitation settings to be for different things. So you can allow all the invites or only from your friends. You can turn off certain difficulties if you don't want to see them, if you're kind of beyond them, or if you're too weak. Not too weak, you're just, you're early in the gameplay, you can switch off the more difficult ones, and so on and so forth. But that is how you sort of set things up. And so, as you saw from the boss stage, I have this one at 17%. What you essentially have to do is beat these stages, and there's 3 different difficulties. There's easy, normal, and hard. Normal, hard, and extreme. Each one will give you a different percentage. Obviously, the harder it is, the higher the percentage. You can also get an extra 5% percentage to your deathmatch discovery rate in the tavern decorations. And then randomly, it will eventually just, shoot up to 100. So you could play 1 deathmatch, and it could shoot up to 100. You could play 5 death matches and it could go 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and then on the 6th one it goes up to 100%. It's random, but you can improve your odds by, like I said, playing harder boss stages and then also getting that decoration. Now keep in mind it does cost 20 energy to do these, so it is pretty expensive, but you also want to be farming these when they are half cost, when they only cost 10 energy. Even after you've defeated the boss, you can continue to farm these stages because this is one of the only places, I believe, where cups can drop, the chalices that you need for awakening, and it's only a 6% chance to drop, but you can have them drop, and you only need 18 of these to awaken a character at 6 stars, so get to farming when it's half cost, not obviously now when it's full cost unless you have a ton of energy. So now, without further ado, we're going to jump into the first one here, which is the Gray Demon, and then we will talk about the Red Demon afterwards. So when you get to this stage, you want to choose the difficulty. Obviously, when you're a new player, you're going to start with normal, but as you progress through, you can try hard and extreme. We'll talk about the differences between hard and extreme, but really, there isn't a huge difference between normal and hard for the Gray Demon. You just have to do a lot of damage quickly. That's sort of the key here. Now in normal and hard, the Gray Demon has 1 heart, so basically 1 HP bar. Once you deplete it, the fight is over. In extreme, it's a little bit harder. He has 2 HP bars, so you have to deplete the first one. He will revive and buff, and then you have to deplete the second one. Now for the Gray Demon boss fight, you just want to bring in as much damage as possible. The Gray Demon is basically the opposite of the Red Demon, where the Red Demon deathmatch is kind of slow and steady, wins the race, like the tortoise. The Gray Demon is basically the rabbit. You want to go as fast as possible. You want to pump out the most damage possible. So because you cannot use crowd control abilities, you want to basically ignore all of those crowd control characters. You can't freeze, you can't petrify or anything like that. What you want to do is you want to bring strong green characters that can deal a lot of damage, because as you will see if you investigate, the boss is blue. He is a speed type. So you want to bring as many green characters that do a lot of damage as you can, and then you also want to bring healers or sort of people that can buff up your HP, like maybe Arthur or Green Merlin for the perfect cube, and also people who can buff your damage so you can do damage faster, so you can kill him faster. So Gil Thunder, Helbram, those kinds of characters can buff up your damage. And then for healers, besides Red Merlin, of course, you have Red Elizabeth, Princess, or Hostess, and you have Green Princess Elizabeth. All of those characters will be good to heal your team, because if you can't CC the boss, if you can't crowd control the boss, and you don't one-shot the boss, then the boss is going to hit you. So you need to be able to take a hit, so you need to build your characters up with enough defense, and then you also need to be able to heal up so that if the boss hits you again, which they probably will hit you at least one more time, you can tank that hit. Other strong green characters that you can use in this stage, I mean, there's a ton of them, but I mean, Green Jericho is really good for this stage. Green King, as I have here. Blue Elizabeth and Hawk is decent, although she doesn't have a type advantage. She does buff her defenses, and then she gets more damage per buffs that she has on herself, and she can buff the whole team. You also have, you know, any other just high damage dealing character that has high single target DPS will be good. You can even use Green Meliodas because he does have a ranged attack which can hit the Grey Demon, and then his ult can do some decent damage, and also his counter can work in the second phase of the fight, or whenever you ground the Red Demon and he's not flying, but with the Grey Demon. But we'll talk about that when we get into the fight. As far as inviting people, you just click on this button here, and then you can invite randomly from people around your rank. You can invite from your friends list, or you can invite from your knighthood. I'm going to invite from my knighthood and fast forward into the fight. So jumping into the fight against the Grey Demon, the first thing you're going to want is more total CC than the Grey Demon. He's at 180,000 for extreme. If you don't go first against any of the deathmatch bosses, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. So just, you know, be careful not to do that. I'm starting off with a buff here and then 2 king skills. The Grey Demon, the way that it works is you're basically just trying to race as fast as you can to your ult. So bringing in characters like Green Merlin to give you an extra alt orb, eating alt orb food like the honey pie, bringing in Green Princess Elizabeth, who gives you alt orbs when she ults. Any of those things are going to be good. Green King especially benefits from the extra alt orbs because it increases his crit damage. His crit damage, so that he'll do more damage as he gets closer to his ult. So you can see here we're just doing damage and then defending with the perfect cube. Now keep in mind, for all death matches, the same strategy and advice is true. You want to try and coordinate with your team. So if you see that your teammate has someone with buffs, for example, they've got a red Gowther, I'm just waiting and letting them play first, because if they have sort of the invasion upgrade skill, which I guess they don't have, but if they had the invasion upgrade skill, it could upgrade my skills. If you see someone on the other team has a buff character like Green Gilthunder or Green Helbram, they can buff up your damage. You want those buffs to land first. Really awesome hit, 100k with Green Merlin. Lots of characters can do this stage. You just need to bring enough DPS. The only characters I would say that cannot do this are probably red characters, because they have the type disadvantage. Blue Slater is also not going to do well on this stage because the boss will start with ultimate orbs, so he doesn't have an empty bar. And then additionally, or he'll get it after the first turn because you can't stop him. And then additionally, Red Elizabeth won't do as good. She can't ramp as much because the boss is going to hit her and she'll take damage. So there we go. We get the buff. So we're going to pop Perfect Cube for the defense. Then we're going to hit first with King, and then we're going to use his ult. It's important for King to do this first, and it's also important for characters like Jericho to do a skill first, because King will take advantage of his full ultimate orb, and so I'm almost guaranteed to crit here with this attack. There you go. There's a crit, double crit. And then secondly, with Jericho, you're building up your crit rate with each skill that you use. So keep that in mind. You can see here in the second phase of the Grey Demon, he had a green bar. When you play normal or hard for Grey Demon, you'll see the green bar automatically. Whenever you deplete the green bar, it stuns the boss and they skip their turn. So technically, if you can continuously do enough damage to deplete the bar, if you do enough damage to deplete the bar, you'll just kill the boss. But that is the way of doing it. You want to, ideally with skills, deplete the boss's HP, or the green bar, and then ult them on the following turn after you've built up your ultimate, when you have a chance. If you give the Grey Demon too many turns, they'll probably kill you, and then you'll lose, and then you waste the stamina. Keep in mind, if you lose and you were invited, you don't lose any stamina. You don't actually spend any stamina for helping people out and playing their death matches with them. So it's always a suggestion to play death matches if you have time to play. See, I'm not really critting much because I don't have any orbs right now. Looks like we're not going to be able to kill him. We got very close. He's going to heal. He heals every turn. So he gets a heal. If he does the soul-sucking skill, he'll also do the heal. After the stun, if he survives, you can see there he will recharge that. It's almost impossible to deplete this bar and not kill him at this point because he has so much HP. But just so you know, depleting the bar doesn't kill him. It does stun him. So we're in a bit of a pickle now. We get the invasion, but that's not going to be for us. It's just going to be for his side of the team. But my suggestion to you is to just play it slow and coordinate with your team. I actually am going to try... I'm thinking of doing the perfect cube, but I actually think I'm just going to try to go for the kill because we're so close to killing him here. And I don't think the perfect cube is going to save us. So hopefully we get the kill here. Beautiful. 100,000 damage. That's why Green King is #1 for this boss. Now keep in mind the last thing against the Grey Demon I didn't show you, but if you attack the Grey Demon when he's flying and you don't use a ranged attack, so let's say you use any of... Oh, beautiful. I got a 5-star cup. If you use any melee attacks like Jericho's skills when the Grey Demon is flying, the Grey Demon will evade you. So keep that in mind. Ultimate skills, it doesn't matter. They will always land on the Grey Demon, but when the Grey Demon's flying, any sort of physical close-ranged skills won't even do damage. They will just be evaded, so that will automatically make a lot of characters weaker, where, you know, other characters that are ranged can deal damage throughout the battle. Jericho's still good for Grey Demon because she can just get to her ult and then ult the Grey Demon and do like hundreds of thousands of damage and nuke him down. But it's a little bit more consistent with characters like Green King because they can range damage him, and you don't even necessarily need the ult to finish them off in some cases because he can crit for over 6 figures worth of damage. One quick mention about food against the Grey Demon and the Red Demon. You can of course bring any kind of food you want. You can bring evasion food, you can bring buff food, you can bring ultimate gauge food. One thing you can do if you're still new into the game and you don't necessarily bring enough combat class to go first, you can eat combat class food, but eventually what you want to start doing is you want to start eating pudding food or the gold gain food, because these boss fights do give you a decent chunk of gold. I believe it's 16,000. So adding that up, and especially if there's like a double gold event or anything like that in the future for death matches, really goes a long way. If you're doing 10 death matches a day, that's an extra 160,000 gold. Against the Red Demon, things are quite a bit different. So because the Red Demon, rather than being a blue type, is actually a red type, you want to bring blue types against him who has the advantage, or red types. You don't necessarily want to bring green types because they're going to do reduced damage. But in addition to that, the Red Demon does not have wings, the Red Demon does not fly like the Grey Demon, so any kind of attacks, whether they're ranged or melee, will hit the Red Demon. Additionally, the Red Demon does not have debuff immunity like the Grey Demon, so you can freeze him with Gustav or Red Merlin, and you can petrify the Red Demon with Blue King. That's why Blue King is so good for this fight. Not only does he have the type advantage, but he also has the petrify, which will stop the Red Demon. So we're going to jump into the fight here now. Shout out to Zanber for being with me through all of these. The Red Demon, like I said, is slow and steady. You want to make sure that every single turn you communicate with your teammate so that you know who is going to end the turn with a petrify or a freeze. It needs to be the last damaging thing that you do, because if you freeze or petrify and then hit the Red Demon, it will remove the petrification or the freeze. Keep in mind that for Merlin and Gustav, you need a level 1, 2, or 3 freeze. It doesn't matter. But for Blue King, you need to have a level 2 petrify. A level 1 petrify will not work. So here I'm going to use the stamps to communicate that I will be using the crowd control on this turn because I do have 1 freeze from Gustav. It's very important. It's absolutely vital to communicate this to your teammate every single time. If you don't communicate, people are not going to want to play with you, and then people are also going to die, and then that means they're not going to want to play with you. So you need to end every turn with either a freeze or a petrify. This is how the Red Demon gets defeated. Now, characters that are really good against the Red Demon, you can see them in action here. We have double Blue Slater. That's not an accident. Blue Slater is amazing because his passive gives him more crit chance if the enemy has an empty ultimate gauge at the bottom here. Now, the Red Demon should never attack, so the Red Demon will never have ultimate gauge, so Slater will basically be critting the entire fight. Now, you need to notice here, you need to pay attention here for strategy's sake. If the demon is low on HP and you have enough damage to kill it, you should not waste your freeze for that turn. So my teammate has noticed this, he's buffing, and then he's using a weaker skill just to finish him off. So we're going to dump some of our cards. We don't necessarily want to use our best cards here, but we want to dump cards and then just ensure that we can finish off the demon to go into the next phase. The Red Demon is going to have, I believe, 1, 2, or 3 hearts, or maybe 2, 2, and 3 hearts for the different difficulties. But either way, you'll quickly progress into hard and extreme mode against the Red Demon as you sort of progress through the game. So you'll have to get used to the fact that there's more than one phase, and so you have to plan that accordingly. You know, using your ult when the boss has low HP and he's going to revive with his second life is just a waste of the ult damage. So you need to watch the bar and communicate with your teammates. Here, I'm going to ask him to use CC because I have a level 2 freeze. The important thing to note here for the freeze is that a level 2 or 3 freeze, if you read it, it gives you increased damage, inflicts 80% additional damage. That increase there, he's communicating with me, so that's amazing. Good job, Zamber. Thank you so much. That increase, that 80% increase, is the same for Merlin and Gustav at level 2. At level 3, it's a 200% increase. So people that will speedrun the Red Demon, which is definitely possible, will combo level 2 or level 3 freeze with their ult, and that way they will do massive damage in the hundreds of thousands. Now, besides Blue Slater, there are tons of other characters that can do well on this. Technically, any character can do this as long as you can do some damage. Because if you bring enough crowd controllers, like if you bring 3 or 4 crowd control characters, like 2 Blue Kings and 2 Gustavs, or, you know, a Merlin, a Gustav, a King, and another Gustav, you'll always have a Petrify or a Freeze for the boss, and therefore you will always have another turn to do damage. So, you know, if you have infinite time, you could technically do this for hours, and you could bring any team you want. But obviously you want to do damage. Obviously you want to go through it pretty quickly. So Blue Slater is probably one of the best to do it. Red Elizabeth and Hawk is also very, very good because her main skill ignores defense. So you can do the Hawk Charge skill to do massive damage, and also her alt ignores defense, which also does massive damage. So Red Eliz and Hawk and Blue Slater are probably the best. Galland is good as well because Galland is blue. He has the type advantage. He also ramps up his damage with his ult, so then he'll do even more damage. You know, Blue King is good. Bon, any kind of Bon is technically okay for this. See, he's doing the Freeze alt combo. We're actually going to do the Freeze. You know what? I want to do the Freeze alt combo just for like swag points, but I want to play this one safe and show you guys a more traditional run, so I'm actually not going to do that. Technically, any Bon is good against Red Demon because Bon has a damage increase against the Red Demon, but obviously the type advantage Bon, Blue Bon, is actually going to be the best against Red Demon. I don't necessarily... Awesome damage. I don't necessarily recommend investing in Blue Bon just for the Red Demon because, like I said, there are other better characters, but he will be better later on with Extreme Demon or Hell Demon, which we'll show off later. But, you know, Blue King is great for this. Yeah, we would have had it if I had done the Freeze combo. Blue King, Weinhardt, who's another blue who has bad regular damage, but he has good alt damage. But basically, any DPS character with damage is going to be able to help you on Red Demon. So Red Demon is more about bringing crowd control and then focusing and paying attention and coordinating with your teammate, and even communicating with them with an outside app like Discord as you're playing really helps. So you can say, you know, I've got 3 freezes, let me freeze for the next couple turns, or like, I'm running out of freezes, can you freeze? I got another cup. It's beautiful. So with that being said, hopefully these tips and hopefully this guide has helped you for the Red Demon and the Gray Demon. The big takeaways to remember is that the Red Demon will be crowd controlled, so you definitely need to bring at least 1 crowd controller. If you don't, you are severely reducing your odds of winning, and you're probably pissing off your teammates. And then for the Gray Demon, you cannot crowd control the Gray Demon, so you need to bring high DPS, and then you need to bring support characters like healers or characters that can buff up your HP in order for you to be tankier, because you are going to take hits from the Gray Demon, and you have to be able to absorb those hits and continue dealing damage. Also, characters that can help you ramp up to your ults faster, because ults do the most damage, so being able to ult faster is going to help you reduce the number of turns that the Gray Demon has by reducing their HP points to 0. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, consider subscribing, consider thumbing it up, and sharing it with other people in the 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross community. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.